Good morning, children. Today we are going to do another poem from our flamingo text, A Thing of Beauty, composed by John Keats. John Keats was a British romantic poet, although trained to be a surgeon, and later he decided to devote himself wholly to poetry. Keats' secret, his power to sway and delight the readers, lies primarily in his gift for perceiving the world and living his moods and aspirations in terms of language. A Thing of Beauty is an excerpt from Keats' poem Endymion, a poetic romance, one of his earliest creations, which appeared in the volume of poems published in 1818. The poem is based on the classical Greek myth of love of moon goddess Cynthia for a young shepherd, Prince Endymion. According to this classical story, Cynthia descended from the heaven to kiss her beloved Endymion sleeping in everlasting youth on the top of Mount Latmos in Caria. The enchanted youth resolved to seek her out and so wandered away through the forest and down under the sea. The poem Endymion, as Keats himself wrote later to one of his friends, is the test of his powers of imagination and the theme of the poem, children, rests in the opening line of the poem itself. A beautiful object is treasured in our mind because it provides us eternal and everlasting joy. This happiness never fades into nothingness but multiplies manifold whenever it flashes on a mind screen. So let's begin this poem, children. The excerpt which marks the beginning of Keats' longer poem Endymion voices his eternal love for beauty. A beautiful object gives one joy forever and its charm increases with the passing of time. Beauty leaves an everlasting imprint in our minds and it cannot be reduced to uselessness. So, before we begin with the poem, it is a question that is raised to us: what pleasure does a beautiful thing give us? Are beautiful things worth treasuring? So, should we treasure the beautiful things that are present in the nature? Many of you must have treasured a beautiful flower with you or a beautiful picture with you. So that's what the poet raises the question, that should we preserve or treasure the beautiful things of nature. So let's find out what the poet says. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. The poet says that whatever is beautiful in nature provides eternal and everlasting joy to us because it leaves an indelible imprint in our minds and we relive the joyful experience whenever we think about it. Then the poet says that its loveliness increases. It means joy multiplies with every beautiful thought. Likewise, the loveliness of a beautiful thing increases manifold each time we visualize it on our mind screen. It will never pass into nothingness. So, here the poet says that the joy a beautiful thing provides is eternal. The imprint it leaves on our mind is indelible. So, it keep on giving us joy. It keep on remaining for us. It keep on remaining for us lovely and lovely, and its loveliness can never fade away or die out. So, loveliness will never be reduced. It is going to appear to us more and more lovely. It will never pass into nothingness, means it will never become useless for us, but will keep a bar quiet for us and a sleep full of sweet dreams and health and quiet breathing. Here the poet says that he feels a thing of beauty can never become useless. And here he says that he will store, the thing of beauty will store for us a quiet bar, a sleep full of sweet dreams, a healthy quiet breathing. So it is going to give us calmness, serenity, peace, leisure, comfort. The joy beauty gives us is akin to the joy of a blissful sleep full of pleasant dreams. Then further, the poet says quiet breathing. Now, what is quiet breathing here? The reference implies to the sense of peace and serenity that one experiences on seeing beautiful things. Beautiful sights act like nutrition for a healthy mind and thus refresh and relax us by driving away aggression and restlessness. Bar is, children, a pleasant place in the shade under the trees. It is actually a board or a place created by flower creepers or flowers. So that gives us pleasure because of its loveliness. Next, the poet says, therefore, on every morrow are we wreathing a flowery band to bind us to the earth. Morrow means the next day, tomorrow. So, here, according to the poet, life on earth would be a pain without the beauty around us. And so, the poet feels that every morning we weave, we prepare a wreath of flowers, a garland of flowers which bind us to the earth and make us live our life. Now here, wreathing a flowery band is specifically used by the poet to give an example of beauty. As Keats was a worshipper of beauty, he felt that life on earth would not be worth living without its treat of beauty. In this expression, he expresses a similar feeling as he feels that every morning we weave a beautiful string of flowers or memories which help us to support ourselves on earth and motivate us to live our life here, which would otherwise have been a pain. So every morning we have a hope, we have a positive gesture, we have optimistic note to live our life, and this can be related to the temptations to live on earth. So every day, each day we have a new temptation to live upon this earth. Then further he says that in spite of despondence, of inhuman dearth, of noble natures, of gloomy days. Now, in spite of despondence means the poet sees that life as a struggle is a struggle where man often suffers pain and loss of hope. The expression here refers to the suffering and the hopelessness of the man which he experiences at various junctures in life. So as man, he says, that has to face lot of events that create sadness in his life. Lot of occasions are there, lot of things are there in his life that create sadness in his life. Still he wants to live. This is the beauty of life. Now there are the sadness that comes into our life can be the result of many things, like inhuman dearth of noble natures. Inhuman dearth means tendency. Now noble nature, one whom we were thinking to be very good and very noble, they suddenly turn out to be selfish and self-centered. So there are only a few who enjoy such nobility of characters as to rise above their petty differences and show magnanimity and generosity. So on this earth there is surely a dearth or shortage of such noble ideals, and one often feels cheated. So here he says that because of that, because of this kind of inhuman tendency of noble nature, people feel sad. Gloomy days are the sad days. Then of unhealthy and over darkened ways. Children, there are many moments in our life when we do not feel any optimism and any hope, we feel that life is a struggle for success, then the path towards success gets obstructed by the deceit and selfishness of our colleagues. We suffer the pangs of defeat and loss of hope, which makes our life disdain, sad. Then to keep our life moving, or to able to enjoy the light at the dark end of the tunnel, one has to cross and transcend the darkness. The unhealthy and the over darkened ways refer to the trials and tribulations one encounters in this journey of life. The poet says that in spite of sadness, in spite of the unhealthy days, in spite of the sad events of our life, still we want to live. So, why we want to live? Because there is some beauty in our life that makes us live this life, and in the darkened ways also we get illuminated, we get hope to live. So, all these darkened ways also, poet says that they are made for our searching. Searching means introspection. Usually, in keeping quiet, also we have learned this, that usually whenever we are sad or we are suffering of on any account, then we try to find out the reason. And this reasoning, that logical reasoning, makes us understand the difference between right and wrong. This introspection makes us realize about the goals, success, then targets that we have to achieve, then how we'll be able to get those targets and all those things. So the darkened ways also are very helpful in our life, because they make us introspect, they make us realize about the differences between right and wrong, they make us realize about the difference in people who are good for us, who are bad for us. Yes, in spite of all. So, besides all these sad events in our life, still we want to live. In one another poem, the poet has spoken very clearly about it, where he says that life is full of thorns, and still, when we walk on that, we bleed, still we want to live.